Let's dive into 7 key differences between communication styles in the United States and Brazil. Knowing what they are and how to navigate them could help you in your personal and professional lives. Brazil is definitely among the countries that bring communication to life through motion and gestures. It is more like Italy, Greece, Turkey, India, Spain, and Middle Eastern countries than the US. While the US places high value on maintaining eye contact to show interest and attention, we're significantly less likely to turn our hands into coxinhas or to frequently give the thumbs up. I think hand gestures add flair and energy to communication and contribute to the very positive stereotype that Brazilians have of being warm. And I wouldn't advise you to be the one to try to change the culture here by spontaneously moving into someone else's personal space. Although it's more formal, the US is less hierarchical than Brazil. We are not used to or particularly accepting of bureaucratic processes. People who expect to be treated with deference simply because they occupy a position of authority or are older may be in for an unwelcome surprise in the US. I admire and respect the preference Brazilians show for pregnant women and the elderly. Don't expect it in the US though. 10 hours after 3 passengers in Sao Paulo insisted that my wife go ahead in line, she was quickly reminded that we were back in the US in New York when a baggage handler threw a suitcase at her feet. On the other hand, I really appreciate the belief in the US that good ideas can and should come from anywhere, not just from the top of the org chart. From a young age, students in the United States are encouraged to actively participate in the classroom. We learn to raise our hand from the first time we need to go to the bathroom. College professors expect that students will come to class prepared to share ideas and to thoughtfully defend their points of view as well as ideas that they disagree with. While students in the US should start out by referring to their professors as Professor X, in many settings the professor will tell them, "Call me by my first name." This is particularly true in individual meetings or in small groups. Brazil's more hierarchical culture increases the chance that a professor will seek to highlight and maintain the distance that separates them from students. Using Professor Doutor or Excelentíssimo or Magnífico or other superlative titles is frankly downright strange to me. After 25 years, my mother-in-law still likes to be called a senhora. I do that even though it's as strange to me as my stepfather's aversion to hugs. Preferences and what's acceptable definitely change over time. In my 3 decades in Brazil, the separation of people at the elevador social and the elevador de serviço has gotten less pronounced. Bottom line, I think that approaches to hierarchy and how we view respectful interactions are deceivingly different between Brazil and the United States. In general, Brazilians are more tolerant of not being precisely on time than people from the US. Not exactly groundbreaking news. What's more interesting, helpful, and challenging is gaining a nuanced understanding of how to act and what to expect. In business settings in Sao Paulo, you'd be ill-advised to show up late. Why? First, Paulistanos are rightly known to be time-obsessed and stressed out compared to their fellow Brazilians. Second, Brazilians often adjust their expectations to accommodate foreigners in a way that people in the US just don't. Finally, there are more pronounced regional differences in Brazil than there are in the US. One of my favorite restaurant signs that I've seen in Brazil is Paulistas, vai demorar. It's a sign that I saw on a business trip in Bahia. In the US, it's more straightforward. Show up a few minutes early for all business meetings, and show up on time for social gatherings unless you're certain that the person has a style that differs from the norm. My wife is still shocked when 20 children are dropped off by their parents within 5 minutes of the start time of the birthday. And these parties, they also have an established end time.